Hey, good evening, everyone. Dave Wilson, Results Staffing, in a live broadcast. Be right with you. You know my favorite saying. I got to go on here and make sure LinkedIn's live. We got one. And I promise you, Brian, because Brian always complains that I don't have this timer yet, but I always want to make sure LinkedIn is on. And LinkedIn, you are getting good. I'm telling you. Wow, look at that. That is awesome. I'm going to introduce tonight's guest. There we go. All right, good evening, everyone. Dave Wilson. Tonight, I got a great guest and good colleague of mine, Denis Cela, and he's from Allentown, Pennsylvania, and he's the founder of Learn, Grow, Influence. How you doing, Denis?
I'm doing very well, Dave. How are you?
Good. Hey, I wanted to ask you if you could just explain, what do you do and what is Learn, Grow, and Influence?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show here, Dave. It is truly a pleasure to be here and speak with you.
Thank you.
Learn, Grow, Influence. So as the title says, it's a leadership development group, and I'll give you a little bit of a history of how it came about as I was seeking personal growth for myself through my leadership years in various companies that I've worked through. The idea of learning and making the learning process a lifelong journey for myself. It's where the idea came to as we're learning, as we're grasping new ideas, applying those. And by applying them, it gives you the opportunity to grow yourself. And as you as an individual are growing and are changing, those on your circle will be influenced, right? So the idea of Learn, Grow, Influence is a leadership development group. And my role in it is to, as a servant leader, I want to help individuals and organizations close the gap from where they are to where they want to be by way of coaching, speaking, and training. So that's Learn, Grow, Influence in a nutshell.
I know when you add those three words together, it's like, whoo. So what inspired you to get into it, Denis? Like what just woke you up one day and said, this is what I want to do? Were you watching something or?
It's been developing in me, if I can say, right? So again, I've been in the supply chain world in various leadership roles for 15 years, at director levels and so forth. And I've worked for the large corporations, the small mom and pops, and the organizations that transformed overnight and grew really quick. So change was inevitable at every single organization that I've worked on. And truthfully, when it comes to leadership, I initially started my role as a leader with a title. That's all I had. I had a title that says that I'm a manager, right? And that's all I knew, and that's what I understood of what leadership was, right? So through some great mentors and through some great people that have guided me through, they set me down and truly showed me the value of leadership, and that training and that development got poured into me. And I saw the value and the benefits that it had for myself, my career, and those that I was able to impact. And I was gasping. So as I was going through these various organizations that were changing rapidly, I was truly looking for material. I was looking for resources that I could share with my leaders that I was leading at the time and say, hey, here's something relevant to what we're going through. And I was struggling to find that material, right? And then getting outside folks to come in was a cost to the organization. So it was always kind of an afterthought. Right. So as I got faced with that every single time when I went and knocked on that door, I said, okay, I got to do something. Instead of me just waiting for others to develop me and develop my leaders, I got to take this head on, and started researching and landed on the John Maxwell team. So I joined the John Maxwell team right away, and I was able to get resources that now I'm able to share with others. Again, living my lifelong mission of being able to never stop learning and share what I've learned with others. So that's how Learn, Grow, Influence came about.
Right. Well, that's why it's kind of, when I look back, I say we've known each other and been on LinkedIn and started doing the live videos, and we started right before it was a while before COVID. I'd say it's been close to a year. And I know you've watched me. I've watched you do videos, and you broke out and you started doing more videos, being yourself, and same with me. And we all started commenting on people's links. And I think you've seen me grow as much as I have you. And then when all this hit, you invited me onto a 5-part series that we had. It was on a Tuesday nights, and there was 5 of us, and that really helped me a lot. I mean, because some people, the networking, with the new video styles and everything like this, I only missed one, but what I liked about it was just there was 5 of us, and you led it, and through the crisis of what we learned as leaders, and I was proud to say, when I would talk to somebody the next day, say, hey, I did a leadership program, and it was kind of like, I'm doing something. Because I've vented you a couple times. I called you and I asked you for some advice. Everybody thinks you know it all, but when you're starting a business, I called you. I did. I was like, what do I do? And you gave me some great advice as a friend and a colleague. And I wanted to ask you, and when I was looking at the website and everything, and John Maxwell, everybody, you hear that name, and I've seen it in Barnes and Nobles. What does he represent to you and as the organization?
So that's a great call, and I guess I can say that I'm one of the privileged ones, if you will, to be part of his team, and then I have John Maxwell as a business partner, as a mentor overall. So to me, John Maxwell is a mentor, and to the audience, or to the ones that maybe haven't heard of John Maxwell, he has written hundreds and hundreds of books on leadership, self-development, and that's kind of, again, as his name and his reputation, that's what he's known for. And as I started going through the process of researching and getting tools that I wanted to apply to my team, that's where as soon as I saw the John Maxwell team, I knew that I was going to be in for a treat. And I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. You talked about the process of learning and doing this master classes, and then virtually as we're doing them now. It has been a humbling journey for me to be part of this team, because you would say 15 years of various roles in leadership. You've been there and you've done that. It was a humbling experience, partnering yourself with mentors, with those that have traveled further in the journey that you're embarking, right? And being able to learn from them. There's so much, and this cycle of this learn, grow, influence, and repeat, there's no destination. There's no, hey, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to apply it, and I'm done. For me personally, it's learn, grow, influence, and then you repeat. You go right back into that cycle. And as you're sharing your experiences, some of that yourself, obviously the quality of your videos and what you're doing right now, giving us the platform to be able to communicate and connect with others. There's so much value on it. But you didn't just start a business and that was the first thing you did. You grew into it, and you grew into it by learning and applying what you've learned. So congratulations, and a great achievement there.
It is because when you look at that circle, and for somebody like myself, or anybody out there that's entrepreneur, or even anybody really that is in learning and growing, it is a circle because I'm right back at the same spot. And does John Maxwell, I know he's been around so long, and this question here, I was thinking about it, is when I say, hey, old school, we did it this way back in the day, we've done it this way, we've changed. Are his beliefs, concepts, everything you've learned, anything new to you? Or is it just like it was, or it's just we're trying to reinvent the wheel or something, I guess?
I guess that's the beauty of it, right? I feel like a lot of the books that were written, they have value, and they've kind of like resisted that test of time. So they're applicable to, I can apply that to the temperature of my building right now, or I can apply that to the environment where I'm working in a change organization. So that's what was very relevant to me. And I'll be honest with you, when I got on that first call with a sales rep trying to sell me into becoming a member of the team, I was skeptical, right? Because I said, okay, hold up. What is it that I'm going to get, and what are the resources? What are the tools? So, and as I started looking at it from a different point of view to am I going to be able to grow myself as a leader by using these materials and then continuing on that learning journey? Yes, I checked that box, and I said, is this applicable to today's times? And you talk about today's times that are, unprecedented of what we're going through right now. So being able to lead through crisis, some of the main principles that I've gotten through John Maxwell are, when it comes to leading through crisis, like we're going through right now, put your people first. be adaptable to change, right? And be factual and so forth. Those are some of the things that, to me, to answer your question, are very relevant to today's date, regardless of what time that book was written. So absolutely.
Yeah, because you look back and some of the stuff I've learned, it's nothing different. The only thing I did when I looked at the website, what brought memories back was, listen, when we were at the manufacturing years ago, even getting out of the military, going in, starting out, you did have guest speakers come a lot. They would come and talk to your employees. I think it was great. I look back because now we don't do it as much versus like webinars and, you sit in front of your laptop and do you pay attention or not? But when you had that real person in front of you, it was just a different experience too, because they just talked about, I don't know, you were able to interact better. They talked about the true things in that industry, which we were in, if that makes sense. But I have a couple questions for you. And on your social LinkedIn, sorry, I printed this out. And like I told you before, things mean different comments. This one here, it says, you posted, everyone wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. And I said to you before we started talking, I look at from the time I like to say I don't want to say it's all about me, but if somebody that's been through the same experience right now, and they can probably relate to this, is I'm like, wow, am I happy? The growth is nice, but when is it, happiness and growth? I'm going to leave it at that and have you explain it.
Yeah, now that's a great quote in a sense that, oftentimes we have a vision, we have a goal or something that we define as success that we try to chase, Dave, and we envision that, right, as that mountaintop, as our destination. And oftentimes, we forget that it's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. It's the person that you're becoming.
Right.
As you're from the point of where you are to where you want to be, the journey in between is what makes it, right? That's where that growth happens. That's where that happiness happens. That's where that failure happens, right? Because you're embarking on the unknown. You're you're getting yourself away from that comfort zone. And the beauty and that happiness, and you maybe can relate to this, for me, again, I have yet to see the mountaintop.
No, I haven't.
I have yet to see the mountaintop, but I have a vision of what that mountaintop might mean to me. So with that vision in head, that's my purpose, that's my why, that's my motivation source. So on days, as I'm embarking myself on this journey to the mountaintop, on days when I tend to forget why I started this growth journey and so forth, I find joy in knowing that I'm a better person today. I've grown a little more today than I did at the beginning of the year. I've helped a few more people than I did prior. And even though I'm not at the mountaintop, I'm happy, I'm growing, and I know that I got a lot more potential to grow and to go through. So I guess that's where that's at, right? It's not about the destination itself, but it's about the journey.
And that you're embarking. Now, when you were saying that at the top, I know where I want to be. I know that. But then you say to yourself, when you get there, is that what you wanted? And I guess that's what that did. That resonated with me so much on there. And you read things like this and you like them, people like them. But when it's something, you stop and it gets your attention. I wanted to ask you also, when we were discussing leaders in crisis, I like the group is when you look at where you work today over in logistics, how are you utilizing what you've learned now to your peers, to your staff? How do you go about that? And it's got to be hard because you, as a leader, I told you before that I have all my stresses going on the same time and people crying, calling me, and you feel bad, but yet then I have to put that, not a front on, because I have the same issues. But as a leader, how do you do that over there?
Now, and I think that's the beauty of this master classes, if you will, Dave, as we participated in this together. The one that I facilitated a while back is there's not a playbook. There's not a playbook to lead in this time that we're going through now. So there's not hey, when this happens, you do this and you do that. So So the beauty of it is as I was relying, as I was navigating and looking up at my leadership at my place of work and saying, okay, how are they reacting? What can I learn? How can I apply this to my own team that looks up to me? Because again, I'm the leader, right? By title, by influence, whatever you want to call it. Folks are looking up to the leader for direction and guidance. And going through that class is where I got this clarity of, when it comes to leading in crisis, making your people your number one priority, putting your people first. These are strategies, right? So that help you to lead during the crisis. So one, you put your people first. So every decision that you make that with the best interest of your people. Educate yourself and know the sources of the information that you're allowing to come within you and what you're sharing with others. That's very important. Be flexible. In times like this, there's that uncertainty. So being able to have that flexibility is a must. Leverage your team. Gather them together and be honest with them and share what you know and look for solutions and trying to deviate yourself from the problem or that black cloud. Communicate with facts.
How do you separate that sometimes with some of your employees? They're struggling. We know, just like all of us. That in your mind when it comes to myself. I've been in logistics for a while and I've been in leadership there and I'm out here now. So I would sit there and say, wow, people are not showing up. Okay. Because there's so many different things that are going on. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're stressed because, maybe one of their spouses doesn't have a job and you're like, they're coming back to work. They're nervous. Then you're nervous, but you have to keep them calm. But at the same time, you have a whole group of people. How do you find, what do you have to do to get them together in a way? I know it's I didn't even ask this question for you, but I think you can answer that,
No, I think Dave is in times like this reveal the characters in us, right? Times like this reveal the relationships and the trust that we've built with the people along the way. So, there's really no magic way of getting a group of people together and coming through it, but it's truly that relationship, that connection, that engagement that you've done with them consistently prior to this happening that's going to aid you in being able to have that conversation, right? That trust and that relationship goes a long way. And just by being you and being authentic, right? Oftentimes you get that, you got to put that face of the leader and just go out there and lead. Well, in reality, we're all human beings, right? We're going through the same emotions that our employees are going through. So I guess it's okay to show those emotions and say, hey, we're, the catchphrase was, we're in this together. And we truly are. Here's what I know. Here's the facts. But being authentic and doing the right thing, leading by example and so forth, by having that relationship built is what's going to aid you in getting close to your people.
Just again, because I had done a video previously and a lot of the feedback that I get that was discussed was some of the people that don't want to go back to work because they don't feel safe. But then my subject was that I wish that I would see more is for examples like this when I'm talking to you about logistics, because what you're doing, but I kind of feel some of the companies and that need to show that because Dennis, I did a show and I asked everybody, what's the most important thing now to you to get back to work? Like when I see other companies offering an extra $2, an extra $3. And it was I was blown away. So what they said was naturally one person said, I don't want to die. But it was not money. It was more about what is a company doing? How in a logistics center, not so much, and I don't want to change it into that, but is it being cleaned or what's the protocols? So how do you see that being an obstacle of saying as a leader, hey, this is what we do. Somebody comes to me and I'm saying, hey, what do you do? How do you ensure somebody that it's safe? I guess like you said, one thing at a time or.
Yeah. And again, you tackle things as they come along and you do it again by going to that first point, by putting people first and truly ensuring that, hey, whether we're increasing the frequency that we're cleaning or whatever. I was talking to one of my peers that works for a large corporation or a large logistics company here in the Valley. And that's exactly what's going on right now, the frequency of cleaning. But at the same time, what we got to remember is that we all we all, regardless of our roles or titles or whatever we have, we all have a role to play into keeping this thing, by social distancing, by wearing the masks and cleaning and doing the personal hygiene every so often. So we all have a responsibility. And as I was talking with my buddy, that was one of the things that he said, hey, it's not all about, what can the company do, but it's what are we all going to do, because we are the company, right? At the end of the day, we are the company, and here's what we're doing. So, yeah.
Because when I think about it, when you say money, okay, so let's give something more for what's the difference? You're still in the same situation. So if a dollar changes a person's fear, I try to say, well, that doesn't make sense, But what have you learned? And I still have one more question after this. What have you learned through everything that's going on and everything that you do offer when you talk about it? Because you get up there in front of your courses and you listen. Now it's the opposite. I'm asking you.
Yeah.
How do you apply it day to day again? I think that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think looking for the opportunity, right? So if you think about it, when this thing initially came on us, when this pandemic initially came on us, everybody shell-shocked, right? Man, I can recall those first 2 weeks. They were dark. They were just black cloud, right? They didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know what was going to happen hour to hour, let alone, and all the speculations came in, right? So naturally, as human beings, we all fell into that fear zone. So what I've learned out of this part, and I encourage others to do the same, is as you're coming into the fear zone, there's a lot of impacts, outside impact that is influencing us in a negative way to keep you shell-shocked there. So once you create some awareness of what that is, you then can kind of move yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to be a little more selective of where I get my news from. Whether my local news, my Facebook feed, my LinkedIn, wherever it is, if that is just feeding you with pure negativity and it's not even factual, what I learned was to filter that out and put me in control and not allow the outside environment take control of my feelings and my emotional state, because that's what was going on, right? You turn the news, you turn this, that, you open your Facebook, somebody down the road that has no idea what the virus is even called, he's coming up with something and you're sharing it to one of your friends, they're sharing it, and lo and behold, that now becomes a fact to someone, right? So being able to filter through that and move yourself into that learning zone was important. And then as you were selective in the information that you came, then you had to, okay, how can I apply? How can I utilize this time that I might have now that I have? How can I use this great platform that we're on here today to get and help others just like others are helping me? So that's been my takeaway and my learnings through this whole process, was to move quickly, realize what those zones are, and move myself quickly by empowering myself and not waiting for others to come in and hold my hand and move me through, but to put myself in control of how I would act through and move to it.
All right. Hi, Melissa. I see Melissa on there. How you doing, Melissa? Hello, she says, Melissa. I wanted to also, you had mentioned when we did the one class, and it makes sense. I've done it a lot now at nighttime instead of watching the news. You listen to the podcast when you're going to work. You change, and that's, I've been watching a lot of TED Talks. I'm sorry. Or listening. I just put it on and I don't watch the news. I just listen to everything, trying to keep that positive mindset.
Yep. And if I can add to that, Dave, so fueling yourself with power and knowledge and getting some good learnings and audio books, whatever you might have, is very important. But I challenge the listeners, and this is a challenge that I started putting on myself, is what are you doing with that information? When you find that one particular golden nugget into that media that you're listening, whether on the podcast, whether on that book, I challenge you to write that down and put yourself to the test, right? And say, hey, if I were to apply this into my week coming up and going through, what would that happen? So, yeah.
No, I think you have a comment from Melissa here. Let's see. Look at that. Long time. Good to see you. Good guest today.
Hey, thank you, Melissa. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to bring up, can you explain what you do? Like you were talking about Barnes & Noble's, how you had everything all lined up, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so that's a great call, Dave. So again, my platform itself, from a training and coaching point of view, I do one-on-one coaching, I do group coachings, organizational training on leadership and so forth, with ties into effective communication, increasing your influence, personal development, leadership assessments, and so forth. So a lot of these in the past, I was obviously knocking on the doors of the various organizations, and Barnes and Noble's in the Center Valley here at the Promenade Shop, great partner to work with. They allowed me to get into their store, and once a month I would do some small group sessions with folks on various topics. And as we were going through this, obviously I had my entire, all the way through June, booked up the entire year with Barnes and Nobles, and that fell through, right? So now we're taking that to this platform. So I'm doing a lot of Zoom sessions, some virtual training, 5-week sessions, and also accepting booking online for various coachings and so forth that folks might be able to do now from the comfort of their own home versus going to that favorite coffee shop like we used to.
Right. And Melissa had a good comment here. I like that. And this is an important one. Stepping out of comfort zones. That is, I'm telling you, that's priceless.
Yep. Yes, it is. The comfort zone, for having the name that it has, comfort zone, to me personally, it's actually the opposite of that, right? Is that trap that holds us back when every time change comes about and we start partaking to that change.
Right.
If we get defeated, we tend to go right back into that comfort zone. So, yeah. It
is. All right. And then before I end it to how they can get a hold of you, if you had to say to me, being in the leadership that you're in and what we talked about, what you do with Learn, Grow, Influence, what would be your elevator clip, what to say right now to somebody?
So Learn, Grow, Influence, right? What I do is, again, as a servant leader, I help individuals and organizations close the gap from where they are to where they want to be by way of coaching, training, and speaking. That's what I do.
And that's what you do. All right. And they can go to your website, which is
yes,
right
sir,
here.
Yep. And you got it on your banner here, learngrowinginfluence.com. Our upcoming training sessions are there. Everything that's needed. So coaching sessions and so forth are in the list. And I look forward to anybody that I can help, or if anyone wants to join some of our virtual classes, we always accept guests. So reach out to me and connect with me on LinkedIn, and that's how you can get a hold of me.
No, that's awesome. And I seriously, I appreciate your time as a colleague and a friend. I'll be calling you again one day. I got to vent to somebody.
Yes,
but
sir.
It's been great. And I want to do another show in the future here again too. And everybody's got to check it out. If you see Denis's program, there might have only been 5 of us on that night, but for 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, it was great. I enjoyed it, and it was really great. So though it does help. You wouldn't think it does, but it does, because you're talking to people in the same situation, that I try to go through. So, all right, sir, I want to thank you so much. And this will also be, like everybody told, it'll be on YouTube. I'll share the link with Denis also. And we'll be talking to you soon. So you stay right there. I always got to make sure it ends right, because we don't want to end up seeing something funny, or you just never know in the world.
You got it. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.